Mass Effect, Hitman. Two great and glorious gaming franchises. With big names like that, both well-established, loved and recognisable brands, we can surely look forward to seeing some more games like that in the future. Right?
According to Kotaku sources within BioWare Montreal, EA have made the decision to put the Mass Effect series on hold following the not-so-hot reception of Mass Effect Andromeda. There will be no immediate sequel to Andromeda, and any plans for future Mass Effect games have been halted. BioWare Montreal have also lost a significant number of their staff, according to Kotaku, who have been moved to different EA studios to work on other projects.
As for what remains of BioWare Montreal, they are now being restructured as a support studio for BioWare Edmonton and BioWare Austin, as well as other EA studios like DICE and Criterion. Studio director Yannick Roy commented on the rumours, saying they will continue to support Andromeda, releasing patches and multiplayer events, and that some members of the team have joined EA Motive on new projects.
So Andromeda pretty much bombed when it came out, and I feel like that was pretty inevitable. There was a big core of the internet that was ready, waiting to hate it, and unfortunately for BioWare, they gave them plenty of ammunition. Like, as soon as they came out, there was memes flying all over the place, and it was easy to hate the game, wasn't it?
This is not a surprise to anybody. There'll be a lot of people that are going, yes, this is what they deserve. And yeah, I mean, how much of a fucking arse smacking is that? Well, guys, you cut from the team, basically, innit?
Sick burn. It's like, you've tried your best, lads.
Yeah, not a surprise to anybody. We knew this was going to happen, didn't we? We knew there'd be some stern words with probably a little bit more than tired faces flying around the offices.
Famously by now, it was BioWare Montreal's first big project. They were a support team before then. They were helping out on projects, you know, filling in some regards, designing certain aspects of some games and all that kind of thing. They did a whole game on their own, Mass Effect, huge franchise, and they just blew it, kind of, didn't they? I'm sure there's a bunch of talented people working there, loads of them, but, you know, when something as a cohesive unit doesn't work and isn't as cohesive as it should be, that's when this kind of thing happens, and it is sad to see. But the end of Mass Effect, for the time being, that's a big thing. It's a huge series, isn't it?
Get good.
However, EA aren't the only publishers taking an axe to their developers this week. Square Enix announced that they would be dropping IO Interactive as one of their first-party developers as of March 31st. So it's already happened. It's only now that it's becoming public knowledge after they published their latest investor call this week. IO Interactive were responsible for the Hitman series and came under the Square Enix umbrella when Square bought Eidos back in 2009.
The latest Hitman, which was released in episodic form, was received pretty well by most players and critics. It actually saw a few critics even picking it out as Game of the Year. However, it didn't sell all that well and actually failed to recoup development costs. Square Enix said they had amounted a total loss of £33.3 million last year, despite recording record year-on-year profits, and this resulted in Square's decision to sell off IO Interactive. They called that $33.3 million an extraordinary loss. Well, maybe we'll get to see a good Hitman game again then. I mean, they haven't been good since 2006. I don't care what you say. Square Enix, since they've took over Hitman, they've all been shit, and the only one that wasn't shit, I wouldn't know because I wasn't buying level 1 of a game and then waiting for level 2 and level off with all that shit. 2006 Blood Money, good. Everything before that, good. All this shit.
So it was a good Hitman game, according to most people.
Yeah.
And the episodic thing maybe is what put a lot of people off, you know, like by just cutting it up. And so is it an interesting model, I suppose, to sell your game over time, maybe reach more people. That was the idea. But if you're not going to encourage people to keep buying it, maybe one level is enough for some people, and they were happy to just not buy the others. It's a risky move. It was a new kind of model. Splitting up a AAA game into a bunch of pieces was a gambit, and it obviously didn't work out.
I don't understand this because it's like when people cut shit up and make it behind a paywall, people moan. Square were saying, we don't want microtransactions, we don't want any of that shit, but then all they've done is they've called microtransactions and season passes something else, and then they're like, but why didn't this work?
It seems a little bit like IO have had to bear the brunt for Square it up with their bullshittery, you know, they've messed around with the business model, and IO have kind of had to take the brunt of it. That's kind of how I see it. I'm sure there's a lot of different opinions, but IO Interactive, they were the Hitman people, weren't they? They also made a few other titles, like Freedom Fighters was one of theirs.
Yeah, they did,
which I really enjoyed back in the day. They've got a history, they've got a reputation. They are the Hitman guys. So what happens to Hitman now is anyone's guess. This is a big news. You know, Square Enix dropping IO Interactive is a pretty big deal.
Another thing that Hitman did.
What?
Since Square got involved, the first Hitman they made it easy mode, like tag all these enemies, press X to execute them all. Then they made Hitman Go, the fucking Hitman Monopoly, Hitman Cluedo, and then they made Hitman Season Pass Edition. It's fucking bullshit. Why don't they just make a normal Hitman game? Just make a fucking regular classic Hitman game.
Regular man game.
Walking
No hits.
simulator. That's what I want. What remains of Agent 47 Game of the Year? Back in January this year, Square announced that the Deus Ex series would be going on hiatus and no further Deus Ex titles would be made for the foreseeable future. This decision was also because Mankind Divided failed to make an impression in the sales despite being received well critically.
And Square Enix took that decision despite the fact that Mankind Divided ended on a cliffhanger. Much of the Mankind Divided story was actually chopped off to be included in a sequel that we now might not see for a long time. Mankind Divided studio Eidos Montreal is now reportedly working on a Guardians of the Galaxy title as part of Square Enix's big deal with Marvel.
Square Enix, by the looks
Stop
of it...
f***ing dropping
Yeah,
stuff.
I've got my eyes on you, Square Enix. Oh, we've got an ending here. Oh,
Yeah.
we'll cut it off and sell it later. Hitman, we've got a whole game here. Why don't we chop every little level into slices and sell them off? Off. Even Final Fantasy 15. It's like, we got all these extra stories, buy them all individually.
It's really jarring that I found. That's a good f***ing point now. There's a bit in Final Fantasy 15 where one of the characters just goes, I gotta bugger off for a little bit. See you in a bit.
It's a calculated move, I reckon.
So,
Square Enix are purposely thinking, how can we sell this back to them later? And I think people give a lot of shit to Activision, EA and stuff. Think about Square Enix and think about what they've done.
Speaking of things not living up to expectations, let's take a look at your comments.
On the Far Cry is a Western video, Alex Loke comments, Gun 2 confirmed.
Gun. Not enough people talk about Gun.
Well,
good game. Bloody good game.
Good game. Pretty good game.
Good shout out, Alex. Commenting on the Bethesda Pray for the Gods trademark video, Wicker says, the legality of this kind of trademark enforcement should be based on how common the word is. Being able to trademark random common words is utter nonsense, in my opinion. My next game is called Shooterman, by the way. No one use those words ever, please.
I might buy IO Interactive.
Yeah,
Make him
make
Hitman
Shooterman.
Yeah, Hitman 3. Shooterman.
You're right though, it's not a future-proof system, and that's one of my biggest complaints about it, is the fact that it probably would have made sense when they started doing this kind of thing, I don't know, 40 years ago, 30 years ago, 50 years ago, who knows. Sooner or later, we're going to reach a point where a lot of the good words, like the best words that you could use to describe your thing, are taken. And it's not going to be, you know, I'm talking like 40, 50 years down the line. How long can this law, this practice of saying pray is my f***ing word, how long is that going to last before it all kind of tangles itself up and becomes an ugly mess? Uglier mess than it is already.
We'll only have shit words left. Moist man.
Contact man? Contact's probably...
Contact man.
And commenting on the COD World War II video, Big Bad Crawford says, I dislike COD multiplayer. It feels really rinse and repeat to me. Jetpacks.
Slide in.
It's got jetpacks.
Would you ever slide in the real war? Well, at what point would you like to think there's enemies over there?
Knees.
Yeah, like a kid in a f***ing primary school disco.
And finally, commenting on the COD vid, Lim Martrand says, rifle picture, ba 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 ba. That's very creative, Lim. Good job. This is nice.
I like the crazy frog. So what do you guys think of IO being dropped by Square Enix? And what about BioWare, eh? Who didn't see that coming, let's be honest. Let us know down in the comments below if you don't think that they deserved it, or maybe you did. Leave a like if you enjoyed the video, subscribe if you're new around here. We've got plenty more content just on the screen right here. We've also got a link to Patreon if you fancy supporting us, and we'll definitely see you again on the next one.